But like I said, I will then mute everybody when I start the reading. So if anyone has any last comments, thank you for joining us, James. I hope I do your story justice. And then so I will go ahead and click on mute all right now, and I guess I'll get started. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we might have had 9 people register, so we might get some people joining us mid-call. But I will go ahead and get started. Let's see, make mute all. Yes, okay. And I'm nearsighted, so I have to lose my glasses here. So as you can see from the thumbnail over my shoulder, I'll be doing a reading of Chipped by James Hosek. And this is a Dr. At mini mystery. And it's copyright 2016 by James Hosek. And I shall begin. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I had just gotten into my car when I heard the strange sound. I couldn't tell where the sound was coming from. I was just getting ready for my lunch break. Doing house calls around the north side of Chicago can make a guy hungry, especially after wrestling with a 180-pound St. Bernard who doesn't like his feet touched. I still was covered with a considerable amount of fur. Scratch, scratch, scratch. There it was again. I couldn't think where it was coming from. The car wasn't moving. I was still parked across the street from Calvin Nichols' house. Calvin was my St. Bernard patient with the pedicure panic attacks. It almost seemed to be coming from under the car. I was just about to step out when there was a tapping at the passenger window. A man was peering in and cranking his hand to signal me to open the window. Did any cars still have cranks to open the windows? I pushed the button on my armrest and let the window open. Is this your dog? He asked. Excuse me? I asked. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Is this your dog? He requeried. What dog? I asked. The one scratching to get in your door, he explained as he stood back and looked at the ground next to my car. I tried to peer over the door to see, but had the wrong angle. I don't think so, I answered. In fact, I don't own a dog, just a cat. Well, I'm owned by a cat, but that's a different story. Just a second, I said, as I opened the door and came around the front of the car to see what he was referring to as the scratches sounded once more. As I reached the curb, I could see the little white dog looking longingly at my car door. Hello, I said. Who are you? He seems really interested in your car, said the dog spotter. Well, I do have some dog treats in there. I patted my jacket pocket and found there were still a couple of treats left from my visit with Kelvin. Maybe he smelled them, I said. You don't know whose dog this is? I asked. Would I ask you if it was yours if I did? He answered. Don't you recognize it? I don't live around here, I said. Well, neither do I. He gave me a humph and walked away. The little dog turned to watch him go, then returned to scratching at my car door. Hey, buddy, you want one of these? I asked as I knelt next to him and pulled out a dog treat. He stopped long enough to look at it, then returned to his scratching. Okay, that's a no. You got tags? I asked. I saw a collar, but his long white hair prevented me from seeing any ID tags. I held out my hand. He sniffed it, licked it, then went back to scratching. I picked him up and felt along the collar. No tags. Rats. Okay, guy, let's hope you have a microchip, I told him. I walked to the back of my car, pressed the button to open the hatch on my Ford Escape. In my black medical bag was my handy-dandy microchip scanner. If he did have one, I'd know in a few seconds. Microchips are actually little capsules injected under the skin with radio frequency ID chips and a small antenna inside. They are great for identifying lost animals, if they have one. You just press the button on the scanner, pass it over their shoulder, and voila, you have a number. There were perhaps a dozen microchip companies out there, but once you had the number, it wasn't hard to figure out where to look for the owner information. With one hand, I opened my bag, then pulled out the scanner, a green rectangular plastic box with switch and a button on it, with a little LCD display to show the scan number. I turned it on. Rats. The battery was dead. Okay, no problem. I had a spare somewhere in my bag. I searched through the upper compartment and found the package that held the battery, but no battery. I remembered changing it a while ago and thinking, I really should put a first spare in there, even leaving the empty package as a reminder. Okay, I just needed a 9-volt battery. I tried to remember if any of the other gear I used had a 9-volt battery. I had all sorts of electronic gear. An ear thermometer? No. My otoscope? No. My blood pressure machine? No. My portable ECG machine? No. All did not take 9-volt batteries. There was a Walgreens pharmacy a few blocks away. I could go there and buy a new one. 2 new ones. Don't want to forget the spare. I closed up my bag, still holding the squirmy white dog under my left arm, his hair adding to the light coating of St. Bernard hair still stuck to my sport coat. I pressed the button to close the hatch. Then I saw it, my scale. I had a bathroom scale I used to weigh larger dogs. I grabbed at the hatch, stopped it, then pressed the button again. It opened, and I pulled the scale out and flipped it over. I opened the battery compartment and was greeted with a beautiful rectangular Rayovac in the compartment. One-handed, I pulled it out and replaced the cover. Then shifted my new friend so I could use my left hand too, and slid the lid off the scanner battery hatch and pulled the dead battery out, disconnecting it from the snap-on connector. I attached the new battery, then closed the door and turned the scanner back on. It beeped. Hallelujah! Okay, little guy, you better have a chip after all that, I told him. I pressed the scan button and passed it over his shoulder. Beep! Yeah, a chip. I looked at the number. 14 numbers and letters filled the screen. Now I just had to track down who the number was registered to. I pulled out my phone. You know how they say there's an app for that? Well, there probably is one for tracking down microchip information, but I had something even better. I had a girl for that. All right, don't tell Sheila I called her a girl, but she was much better at the tech stuff. Sheila is my remote receptionist, and despite never having actually met her, a great friend as well. She was number 1 on my speed dial list. I sat on the edge of my hatch and pulled my phone out, my furry friend perfectly content to not have his feet touching the ground. I pressed and held the one button on the screen until my phone announced it was calling Sheila. Hello, Addie, she said. Sheila, my love, I said. What do you want? She asked. Why do you say I want anything? Whenever you say, Sheila, my love, it is followed by me doing something to get you out of trouble. Not always, I said. I might just be calling to see how your day is going. So you don't want anything? Well, actually, I started. I knew it, she said. It's important. You could save a poor animal's life, I said. And how will I do that? Look up a microchip for me. You can do that on your phone, you know, she said. That's funny. I thought I was, I said. Ha ha, she answered. Okay, shoot. I read the number to her. Okay, that's a pet micro ID number, she said. That's nice, I answered. Be nice, she warned. I'm helping you out here. You're supposed to be on lunch now, aren't you? Yes. The sooner you track down the number, the sooner you go to Danny's or whatever greasy spoon diner you have in mind. True. Then be nice, she repeated. Being nice, I said, then remained silent. I could hear her tapping away at a keyboard on the other end of the phone. Here we go, she said. Please tell me he lives on Wilson, I said. Why? Because I just finished up a house call on Wilson. Oh yeah, Calvin. How did the nail trim go? Just made me hungry. That's too bad. Why? Your little friend, Ernie's his name by the way, lives in Harwood Heights. What? How did he get here? That's like 10 miles away. Must have gotten loose, suggested Sheila. Got a phone number and address, I asked. Texting them to you now, she said. Sorry about lunch, she said. She really wasn't. Sheila was always getting on me to eat healthier. What's healthier than a cheeseburger and fries? A little lettuce and tomato and you've got all the major food groups in one bite. Bye, she said as my phone buzzed to signal her incoming text. So, I said to Ernie, you're Ernie. His tail wagged really hard at hearing his name. Let's get you home, little guy. It would take all of my lunch break, but if it was my dog, I'd want to get him back as soon as possible. I looked at the name and address and phone number. The number was in blue and had a little line under it. I pressed it and my phone dialed the number and it rang twice before being answered. Hello? Is this Maria Trumbull? I asked. Who's asking? Hi, my name is Dr. Ed. I'm a veterinarian. So? Well, I think I have something that belongs to you, I told her. You found my glasses? She asked. What? Lost my glasses the other day. Thought I left them at Denny's, but the waitress said I didn't. I think she just threw them away. Don't trust them people at Denny's. Good omelets, though. Where were they? No, I don't have your glasses. Then why are you calling me? I have Ernie, I said. Ernie? Little white Maltese, likes to be held, hates dog treats. How dare you, she said, the tone of her voice taking on an unprovoked anger that had me looking at the phone like it had just given me a shock. Excuse me? When I took him to the shelter, they said all I had to do was pay their fee and I wouldn't have to see that little terror ever again. I wanted to put him down, but my husband said that somebody would want him. I'm not taking him back. The miserable little dog peed all over my Aunt Hattie's Persian rug. You know how much that cost me to clean? I'm sorry, but the microchip ID is still registered to you, I said. Well, he's not mine anymore, she said, and hung up. Whoa. I looked at Ernie. Aunt Hattie's rug? I asked. He just whimpered and wagged his tail a little harder. I pressed redial on the phone. Hello? I'm really sorry to bother you, but if you could just tell me the shelter you took Ernie to, please? You again? If you can get me that name, I promise I'll have them change the chip registration so this never happens again. I don't remember. Would your husband? Earl! Shouted Maria, not bothering to cover the mouthpiece of the phone so that both Ernie and I cringed at the sound of her shriek. I was sure Earl was doing his share of cringing as well. What? Shouted a fainter voice. Where did you drop that little white terror off at? Noah's Shelter, over on Harlem, I heard him yell. You get that? Asked Maria. Got it, I said, and the line went dead. Back to good old speed dial 1. Hi, Eddie. On your way to Harwood Heights? Sheila, my love. Now what? She moaned. The info on the chip is outdated. She gave up the dog to Noah's, I told her. Oh, Noah's, yeah, in Harlem. You need the number? Please? My phone buzzed. Another text from Sheila. You're a goddess, I told her. Freaking Athena, she agreed, then hung up. I pulled up her most recent text and clicked the link to call the Noah's Ark Pet Shelter. Noah's Ark Pet Shelter, greeted the friendly female voice on the other end of the line. Hi, this is Dr. Ed. I think I found a pet that was released to your shelter, and I'd like to track down the new owner so he can get home to them. Well, that's wonderful, said the woman. You are such a good Samaritan, she added. Well, I try, I answered, modestly. Well, how can I help? I assume you keep a record of the microchip ID numbers of the pets you adopt out. Of course, aren't they just wonderful? In fact, if a pet comes in without a chip, we just go and put one in, she told me. That's a great policy. Here's the number, I said, and read off Ernie's code. I heard her typing away, and then she came back. Here it is. Can you give me the information so I can get him back? Him? Yes, it's some male dog. She said with deep consternation. What's the problem? That chip is registered to a female dog. Well, unless she underwent a sex change, this dog is 100% male. It must be a typo on your end. He was donated by Maria Trumbull. His name is Ernie. Did I get that information right? Well, yes. Could you possibly be mistaken? She asked. I'm a veterinarian. And why would they name a female dog Ernie? Well, I guess I could check with my supervisor. That would be great. She's at lunch. She'll be back at 2. Lunch. That was where I was supposed to be. Okay, if I had to compromise my professional skills and whatever sliver of dignity my grumbling stomach was allowing me, and it would get this dog home, what did I have to lose? Oh, I said, hoping to convey a bit of surprise in my voice. Look at that. My performance was falling well short of Academy Award status, but I was committed. She is a girl. I did make a mistake. It happens to everyone, said the woman with a touch of consolation. She emphasized the she, was adopted by a Mr. Theodore Fogarty. Do you have something to write down this information? I fumbled for my notepad and pen I kept in my other jacket pocket, shifting Ernette to my other arm to do so, then back again to get into writing position. Shoot. She gave me the information. Glad I could help. Ernie's owner will be very relieved. I hung up. I looked at Ernie. I hope you appreciate everything I'm going through to get you home. Don't tell Sheila what I had to do to get that information. I'll never live it down. I dialed the cell phone number that the woman from Noah's had given me and listened to the ringing. Hello, this is Theodore Fogarty, said the voice. It was so formal and stiff, I thought I had reached a voicemail greeting. Hello, this is Dr. Att, I said. Very nice to speak with you, Dr. Att. How may I be of service? I actually think I can be of service to you. Are you the owner of a little white Maltese dog named Ernie? Ernie? The little dog that I adopted from that pet shelter? Yes, I found him on the street and tracked him to you through his microchip number. Oh, how wonderful. You know, they told me it was a female dog. Imagine my surprise when she lifted her leg to urinate as we walked out of the shelter. Quite a surprise, I'm sure. Indeed, but I don't own Ernie anymore. I'm sorry? I asked. He was just too much for me, always wanting to go out to walk and play. I wanted more of a companion, not an activity. I see. Well, can you tell me who owns him now? Certainly, Dr. Att. I gave the little fellow to my daughter, Ruth. Her son fell in love with Ernie and has the energy to handle him. Do you know if they still have the dog? I asked. Of course they do. I was just over there the other day. The little fellow was doing great. Could you give me her address? I'm sure they must be very worried about him. Of course. They live over on Wilson, just east of Lincoln, he said. I was on Wilson, just east of Lincoln. He gave their address. I was on their block. Good grief. Thanks, Mr. Fogarty. I have a pretty good idea where that is. Wonderful. Ruth will be so grateful. He hung up. I looked at the house numbers, then headed west. I was only a few houses away. Then I saw something that explained a lot. Parked 5 cars down from my green Ford Escape was a green Ford Escape. It was parked directly in front of Ernie's house. His whole body began to wag as we got close. The poor little guy had confused my car for his owner's. An easy mistake to make, I supposed. I saw the gate to the side yard was open. Kids. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. I heard footsteps and a deadbolt unlocking, and the heavy wooden door opened. A young woman looked at me, then at Ernie. Her smile grew and her eyes widened. Excuse me, I said, knowing my next words were not needed, but seemed appropriate. Is this your dog? The end. So if you want, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves now. Unfortunately, I'm not able to unmute myself. But yes, so that was Chipped by James Hosek. And James is on the line with us too, so I don't know if he felt like answering any questions from anybody. If not, that is our story. How did everybody like it?
It was great.
Very good reading. Very good.
Loved it. Just loved it.
Wonderful.
Bravo.
Thank you. So yeah, that was fun. Now James, I saw that on the back of it, you talk about you can subscribe. How many of these mini mysteries have you written?
Well, when I did it, I just wrote 2. There's another one called Unregulated.
Okay.
So I don't know if the library has a copy of that. If not, I'd be happy to send you one.
Sure.
And right now, I'm actually finishing up a rewrite of a novel that I'm hoping to sell to a publisher.
Okay.
I've been working with an agent for the last been about 2.5 years now. And first novel I wrote was for the self-published writers contest.
That was the Illinois Undiscovered Author competition?
Right.
Yeah.
And that one, that was the one that got me the agent, but she thought, I needed to write a better story, a different story to catch a publisher's eye.
Okay.
So I wrote another novel, and that one did get some publishers' interest, but no one was ready to buy that at that point. So then I worked with an editor for this last one. So I'm hoping by the end of the year, maybe we'll get some actual interest. If not, I may turn back to self-publishing, but I'm really hoping I can get that out to a publisher.
Ah, fantastic. That's great.
Yeah,
And if I recall, the Give a Dog a Bone, you actually made it to the final round for the Illinois competition?
Yeah, I made the final 3.
Yeah, that's fantastic too. Yeah, that's great.
I know from other librarians that it was so close.
Oh yeah.
The winner, who was from Berwyn, it was like a debate that went on because there was like almost equal, like people wanted James and wanted Geraldine the McGrady the winner, and it was so close that like it almost was like a stalemate.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
maybe since there is another of the minis, maybe we could schedule another one of these for next quarter, maybe, or something.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Is the other one about a cat or a dog?
It's about a cat.
Okay.
So
Yes,
it's-
I'm a cat owner as well. So.
okay.
I'm sorry, I am also owned by cats. But okay, well, wonderful. Well, I did actually record this reading, James. So with your permission, I'd like to maybe post it to our Facebook page or YouTube page. Would you be okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well,
Coming.
if anyone has any other questions for James, if not,
Happy birthday, James, tomorrow.
oh, it's your birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday. Well, consider this my gift to you.
Oh, wonderful gift. Thank you. Very good reading. You did the story justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Did any of our other participants have any questions for James at all, or? No? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us. This was fun. In fact, I mean, we could try doing more of these adult short story readings with other short stories too. Doesn't have to only be James's stories, although we do like James's stories. But maybe we'll try doing more of these.
Sonia, his
Yeah,
books are
sorry.
still in the library, aren't they? Aren't his,
Well, we have a lot of copies of Give a Dog a Bone at the library for checkout. Yes, thanks.
so if they're interested, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Great. Well, thank you again for joining us today. I'll go ahead and wrap this up then, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. And
Thank you, Leighton.
my pleasure. My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you, everybody. It was very nice.
It was very nice.
Okay.
Watch our online calendars or Facebook or website. If we schedule another one of these coming up, we'll try to let everybody know as well.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to the Stickney-Forest View Public Library's YouTube channel. Also, like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Stickney-Forest View Public Library District, where great things happen.